Welcome back. I thought today I'd go over a bunch of personal financial tips that I've learned over my life so far that I think have helped me get into a pretty good place financially. And what I ask is if there's something that I don't mention that you think would be helpful to anyone, go ahead and leave a comment below and talk about it. Only if we share knowledge with each other will we all learn and grow together and set ourselves up for success as a whole community. So your income isn't everything. Yeah, in the personal finance world, it is a pretty big part, but there's other things that you can't ignore. So an example is I have a friend that makes almost twice as much as me. He's in a lot of debt. He has to have the newest car every year and the latest iPhone and all the big new toys. And it's just mind blowing to me that he can make so much more than me, but when it comes time for a payday, he has to run straight to the bank to cash his check so that he can be sure that his rent check clears. And it just goes to show you that like income isn't everything. I make half of what he does, and I don't have to worry about that stuff. And that's because I control my expenses and I don't spend my money on stuff that I don't need, I guess you could say. But most people don't seem to have a plan to save. So like everyone should be saving like 15 to 20% of your income for retirement. And although that's tough to get started if you haven't been doing it because not everyone's raised to think about that, something that might help is when you do get a raise, pretend you didn't get that raise and you can put that money towards saving for retirement or paying down some extra debt. Another thing you should do is diversify your income. If you're a single household income and you lost that main source of income, what would you do to support your family? That question, it's a tough one to answer, but if you have other sources of revenue coming in, then at least it makes it a little bit easier. For me, that extra source of income is options trading, and you can check my videos. I share my knowledge with everyone, and I share all my trades that I do. You can see how I've been doing with that. But even if options is not for you, like look for another way to diversify, bring in another source of income. Everybody has a marketable skill, and you just gotta find a way to use it. If you're having difficulties finding one, leave a comment below, and I'm sure either I or some other commenter can point you in a direction where you can use that skill to make some extra income for your family. And if you find that you truly don't have any source of or any marketable skill, then that brings us to the next step is invest in yourself. You can you should invest in yourself. Try to acquire new skills and knowledge that will make you more valuable to a potential employer. Maybe that means also getting certifications that prove that you have this new value or completing college coursework. Uh, I say potential employers because if you complete this work, your current employer may not recognize it, or they'll just say good job and give you like a little treat and hope that keeps you happy. Like they might not reward you with a salary compensation. So for me, I was working a job. I was only making like 14,000 a year, and I decided to go ahead and pursue my master's degree and acquire some more skills and knowledge, and that actually helped me in my career drastically as I changed employers and doubled my salary in the first year and just continued to increase it as a result of taking the time to go out there and learn more so that I could be more valuable to potential employers. So if you're fine with where you are, sure, don't learn. But I think you should always be learning. That gives you potential to grow. And if you're growing, you become more valuable. More valuable means more compensation with potential employers. So just take time to invest in yourself. Even if that's just read a book a month or something like that. Set a small goal. Try to learn a new skill. And just do it. Like we could talk about it all day, but until you just sit down and do it, like take that first step and see if there's something that you can learn. Another personal finance tip that has helped me immensely is standing up for myself and learning how to negotiate. When you go to negotiate a promotion or a new contract, there's always room to move. And if there can't be uh, salary increases, you can also talk about benefits, which can be more lucrative than actually getting an hourly bump, depending on what kind of benefits you can ask for. An example for me where this has drastically changed is one time I was offered a promotion, which was really nice, and they offered me $5,000 more a year, which to me at that time was a lot of money. But I went in knowing what the position should be paying, and demanded more money, basically. So here's this promotion that they're offering me, and I'm saying I want to be paid more to do that job. And eventually they did accept it, and instead of getting a $5,000 raise, I ended up making a $15,000 raise, which was a pretty significant jump for me at that time. I was going from like 30,000 to about 45,000. So pretty big jump right there. And then later, same thing again. I was offered promotion. They offered me 3,000, and I was able to talk up another 12,000. And that's just learn how to negotiate. Like there's always room to talk about it. When you're looking to negotiate something like that, when you're getting like promotion, talk about what value you bring to the company, and if it's like a promotion, talk about what additional value you're gonna be bringing in that position, and how you beat hiring someone else outside. Don't just go to your boss and ask for a raise, saying I just heard so and so makes $10 more an hour than me. They may have been there more longer. They may have different expertise that you don't have. Like figure out what value you bring that to the table, and negotiate that way. So if you're looking to get a raise, maybe first do a little market research, see what other businesses are paying for your job title, and compare the job descriptions and the responsibilities, and see if you're doing a lot more than that, because that can help you when you go and hey, I did a little job comparison. I see a lot of positions similar to mine. What can we do to bring my compensation up to market norms? And that could be a good way to start the conversation. But always be prepared, like if you're going to be approaching them like this, if you don't have a good working relationship with your boss, that you may need to actually start job hunting. But if they're not willing to bring you up to the market value for the position, then you don't want to be working there anywhere. So you also just found out that there's a lot of positions out there that are paying more anyway. So that's just something to think about, is occasionally do a little job comparison around the area and see if you're fairly being compensation. See if you're being compensated fairly. So the next personal finance tip I have for you is that you need to budget. But before you can budget appropriately, you need to track your expenses for a couple months and learn where all your money is going. And once you have that information, that data collected, then you'll be able to formulate a better budget and be able to control where you spend money that you really shouldn't be. So when I started really budgeting, I did track all my expenses for like 3 months. Actually, I did it for like a year and a half before I stopped tracking my expenses. But literally track every penny, see where it's going, and you can see where you're spending money when you think you're not. So maybe you're eating out a lot more than you think. You see that your dining budget or your dining expenses were a little high, and maybe that should be cut back. Eat at home more. Like the only way to see how you can improve your financial situation is to know where that money is going. So first, track your money. For me, it was a little easier because I put everything on a credit card, so I could just export that credit card into a Google Sheet and separate by categories, that kind of stuff. But that's gonna be step one: is track your expenses for a couple months, see where your money's going, and try to improve it while you're expending. Like while you're tracking it, you don't want to just burn 3 months of better financial decisions because you're just tracking your expenses. So you'll see that you will start to improve as you're just tracking your expenses. Now, once you have a couple months of data, you can go ahead and start planning your budget. And a very generic budget that people like to recommend is the 50-30-20 rule. And what that means is 50% of your take home should go towards your needs. That'd be like your mortgage, rent, food, water, that kind of stuff. 30% can go towards your wants. Like, I want a new car. I want to go out to eat. Want to go bowling. So 30% of your budget should go to wants. And that's because money is here to serve you. Like, it's not all about saving every single penny. I know I have an insane savings rate for myself, but I'm not saying that's for everyone. Like, the money's there for you to use and spend and enjoy. So you should budget a small portion of that for your wants to make sure that you're happy, basically. And then the 20% is money that should be going towards paying down your debt aggressively, as well as saving for retirement or maybe vacations, that kind of stuff. The reason why I put the debt in the 20% category there is that if you have a lot of debt to pay off, if you attack that aggressively, you kind of cut off that compounding interest that's working against you. And if you have something at like 26% interest rate and you pay that off, that's a 26% return on your money. That's awesome. Any investor would jump at the opportunity to get that. So paying off your debt aggressively is awesome, and the feeling for being debt free is amazing. And I hope you all get to enjoy that feeling at some point too. Uh, and then also make sure that you do try to save for retirement, especially after you get your debt done. Just because you get the debt out of the way doesn't mean you can put that into that 20% into the want category. Save for future you. Some other things that you do when you start looking at your budget is you might want to price compare. I know when I'm looking to buy something that's over like $50, I'll spend a few minutes looking online to see if there's a better price out there. Uh, you can check your bills, like your phone company. Maybe you can switch to another provider and save on your monthly bill. That sort of stuff. Like do a little price shopping. It will add up over time. Uh, and then you also find out that you'll just be looking for ways to lower your expenses as well, which is always helpful because that increases your savings rate potentially. The next personal finance tip is to find ways to lower your static living expenses, such as your mortgage and rent. And one of the ways to do that would be to be getting roommates or rent out a room in your house that can help pay the mortgage. I think it's becoming more common for young adults to room together because the mortgage and rent has just increased so much that it's just hard to do it on a single income with the current average salaries. It's a difficult thing to do. But if you find someone that you can stand living with and you can give up a little bit of privacy, it can make a huge impact in your budget. And for me, that's really helped me to save a lot of money that I can put into the investment or into the stock market, where I'm able to now use that money to generate additional income. So sacrificing a little privacy early on so that you can put more money into the market, pretty huge. And I think it's becoming more common for people to live together anyway. It's not frowned upon as much as it used to be. You also don't want to be house poor. I think that's one of my biggest fears is to buy too much house where a majority of my income is going towards a house payment and I'm not able to actually spend my time enjoying anything else other than, oh, here's my four walls that I can sit in and do nothing. So think about not buying too much house or more house than you need if you're looking to get that American dream of buying a house with a white picket fence. So the next personal finance tip I have for you, it's kind of a weird one, but don't cheap out on things that are between you and the earth. So that'll be shoes, tires, bed, and chairs. So shoes. Why shoes? Because if you're walking in poor shoes and you have bad posture, that's going to lead to back issues later in life, and you just don't want to deal with that. So spending more on shoes now so that you don't have those issues later, pretty good. And if you buy quality shoes, they do last a lot longer than if you were to go to Walmart and buy like the $13 shoes on sale. A chair and sofa, because you spend a lot of your time sitting down. You're probably sitting down while you're watching this video. And if you have bad posture, again, that can lead to back issues later in life, and that's just no fun from what I hear about it. So invest in a good chair. You're going to be spending a lot of your time sitting in chairs, so, don't cheap out on it. A bed, same thing. You're looking for your personal health later in life, and over time, poor sleeping conditions, again, will lead to a poor physical well-being later, so don't cheap out on your bed. And then tires, because if I get in a car accident because I didn't have new tires because I wanted to save a couple $100 and it's game over because of that, I would feel really stupid. So those are just kind of four things that I like to actually spend a little bit more money on than I tend to do on other things because I think they're pretty important. Anything that's between you and the earth, you probably should spend more money on. The next tip is don't buy stupid stuff or make big purchases on impulses. A quote I heard once is, it doesn't matter what we want. Once we get it, we're going to want something else. So if you're looking to buy a new car, think about, will you be happy in a year after you made this purchase when the new model comes out? Would you still be happy? You better be, because if you do buy a new car, that car payment's going to still be there next year and the year after, even if you're not happy with your decision. Take some time and think about, if I buy this, will I be using this like a month from now? Will I still be happy that I made this decision, or will I regret it? If you think in the future kind of like that, it'll help you say no to some impulse decisions. So just don't buy stupid stuff. think about whether or not it brings value to your life. So, admittedly, I eat out quite a bit, and to me, that brings me more value than saving the money that I would there. But on the other hand, I choose to own a used car, so I don't have a car payment, so I'm saving a lot of money there. So it's just a matter of figuring out what brings you value, where you're willing to sacrifice at, and just weighing that and sticking to it. Uh, Another thing you need to do is learn to recognize and avoid advertisements. So when you see an advertisement, like their goal is to make you spend your hard-earned money. I mean, that's the point of an advertisement, and they're really good at doing it. And even subconsciously, like even if you do everything you can, subconsciously you're still gonna be affected by the advertisements that you see. So try to avoid them when possible. But when you are looking at an ad, try to think critically about that ad. Like, what is this ad trying to sell me? Before I saw that ad, did I need or want that item? I mean, if the answer is no, then guess what? You don't really need the item. All right. And something else I'd like to ask is the same thing I just talked about before: is would it actually be something I would be happy with 6 months from now if I did end up buying whatever product or service they were talking about? So just look critically at ads. I know you're trying to sell me something. I didn't need it before. I don't need it now, kind of thing. If you happen to be looking for a product or a service that the advertisement does give you, then great. But I feel like that's just so rare. It's all about making you spend your money that on stuff that you didn't really need to begin with. So recognize ads and learn to avoid the tricks that they use on you to make you spend. All right, guys. Another tip is don't cheap out on insurance. It's there to protect you. And although it's tempting to go for the lowest minimum payment, like it's not serving you well. You're not trying to protect yourself from a $400 issue. You're trying to protect yourself from a multi-$100,000 issue. So like in terms of like automobile insurance, I went ahead and I chose the max coverage for like anything bodily injury related or covering property damage to the other person's car because I don't want an accident that's my fault or someone else's fault making me liable to lose a lot of my money that I saved up. So paying a little bit now in insurance in order to avoid that issue is pretty important to me. Uh, if you own your own car for like auto insurance and you're fine with replacing it with your savings, if you're not spending all that money on a new car, you can put that into a savings account to replace your car. Then you can get some very cheap coverage for your car while still having a lot of protection in terms of like medical issues that might come up from like an accident. If you're willing to scrap your car and eat that loss if your car got totaled, so that's something else to consider. Is like if you don't buy new cars and you use a used car that you own outright, insurance is going to be cheaper while you still get better coverage than someone who has a new car and they're trying to just get by. So just just something to think about is weighing how much you spend on insurance versus how much protection you get. As you accumulate more wealth, you'll find that you're willing to spend more on that protection because you don't want to just disappear in like that. The next personal finance tip that probably should have been the first one, but I didn't put these in any particular order, is to max out your retirement account when appropriate. And if you get any kind of match from your employer on your 401k or 403 plan, then you definitely need to be doing that. An example would be like if you get a 100% match on 5% of your salary, if you make 100K, by not putting in that money, you're literally looking at $5,000 and saying, no thank you. A match on contributions into a retirement plan is an instant return, usually pretty big. You just need to take it. It's just great. That's extra money that goes in. That's going to compound for you over time. And it's probably in a tax advantage account too, so it'll grow that much faster. If you have matching and you can do it, you need to get that match done because it's just literally free money. It's free money. After you get your match maxed out, then determine if the leftover money that you have available to save should go into like a self-directed IRA, or if you should continue putting it into like the company 401k or 403k, whatever you have available to you. Something that might help you make that decision about whether or not to put into your self-directed IRA versus the employer plan would be to look at the expense fees of the employer plan and what options they have available to you. basically anyone can open up an IRA that they can manage themselves, whether it be a Roth account or a traditional account. And even without knowing much about the stock market, you could research how to build a 3 fund portfolio that uses like Vanguard funds and be pretty safe doing that. In fact, a lot of the time when I was investing when I was first starting out, like my money was just going into a 3 fund portfolio in Vanguard, and it did just fine. Like you don't have to be the best stock picker in the world to manage your account. Just put it in an index fund, set it, forget it, and just watch it grow over time. That leads us to the next tip, and that's use the stock market. Invest, invest, invest. It really is the best vehicle that the average Joe has in their possession that can grow their money over time. This reminds me of like a quote I just saw recently. Success depends on the actions or steps you take to achieve it. Show me a man with no investments, and I'll tell you how long until he goes broke. Investing creates a safe haven for the future. I just think that's a very powerful quote that shows the importance of investing. Like if you're not saving money, investing it and letting it grow, then you're never gonna be able to get off that 9 to 5 grind and work to the day you die. And that does not sound like a fun life to me. So save now so that in the future you can retire and actually have money to do whatever you want to do. The next tip I have for you is to go ahead and set small, achievable goals and go out and do them. Don't just say I'm going to make 100K this year. Talk about set goals that will help you get to that point. So, what do you need? Maybe you need a new job. So, my goal is to apply to 5 jobs a month and see if I can find a better job that pays more. Or my goal is to read a book about investing every month so that I can learn to be a better investor. So, just think about smaller goals that you can actually hit, that you can like maybe write on a list and check off at some point. Like make sure that they're achievable and then go out and just do them. And you'll see that you start making progress over time if you can go with that. Another thing I want to talk about is we learn our personal finance tips from the community that we are raised in and the friends that we surround ourselves with. So if you want to get better at finances and how to handle your expenses and stuff like that, go out and try to meet new people to talk with. I think talking about finances is becoming less taboo and more people are willing to do it. And if you can find people that are willing to share their experiences, it'll help you grow overall. And you don't actually have to find people in your world even. Like we have an online community. You can join the Discord where we have people that talk about finance and the stock market mostly, but people are just helping each other in all things that we can. And it's free to join. So go ahead and join, meet some new people, and help each other grow, guys, and succeed. So if you have experiences or tips that you want to share, leave a comment below. I'd love to read that and respond to it. And who knows, you may inspire someone else to make some better decisions in their life. And that's just good karma for everyone. So leave a comment below and see you guys next week.